You think you know yourself pretty well. Maybe better than most people. You know what you value, what you're good at, what kind of person you are. You've lived inside your own head your entire life. Nobody has more data on you than you do. That belief feels so obvious, it barely seems worth questioning. It is the most thoroughly disproven idea in the history of psychology. In 1999, two psychologists at Cornell University ran a simple experiment. They gave students a test on logical reasoning and grammar. Then they asked each student to estimate how well they did compared to everyone else. The students who scored in the bottom 25% didn't guess. They were near the bottom. They guessed they had outperformed roughly 70% of the room. The worse someone actually performed, the more confident they were that they had done well. The researchers, Dunning and Justin Kruger, called it a double burden. Not only were these people bad at the task, they were also bad at knowing they were bad at it. You cannot use a broken measuring tool to measure how broken it is. Follow-up studies tested the same pattern across dozens of fields. Chess players, surgeons, drivers, financial traders. In almost every case, people with the least ability overestimated themselves the most. And genuine experts did something strange in the opposite direction. They often underestimated their own ability because they assumed that if something felt easy to them, it must feel easy to everyone. Competence makes you more aware of everything you still don't know. Incompetence makes you unaware there is anything left to learn. But the problem goes much deeper than just being wrong about your skills. In 2013, researcher Simine Wazir asked a simple question. Who knows you better? You or the people around you? The answer depended on what was being measured. For traits you can control and perform, you know yourself reasonably well. But for traits that leak out without your awareness, like how neurotic you actually are, how likable others find you, or how much anxiety you carry into a room without realizing it, strangers who had watched you for just a few minutes were more accurate than you were about yourself. The people sitting across from you at dinner can see things about you that years of self-reflection have never shown you. You are, in a very literal sense, the last person to know certain things about yourself. And the more certain you feel about who you are, the less accurate that picture usually is. Psychologists call this the introspection illusion. When you ask yourself why you made a decision, your brain does not retrieve a memory like pulling a file from a cabinet. It constructs an explanation in real time. A story that sounds reasonable, fits your self-image, and protects your sense of being a rational person. Studies measuring real-time brain activity have shown repeatedly that the conscious explanation people give for their choices arrives after the decision has already been made. You decided first. You understood why second. Then you called the explanation the reason. In one study, participants predicted how they would behave in real moral scenarios. Would you help a stranger in distress? Would you speak up when you witnessed something wrong? Almost everyone said yes. Then they were placed in situations that matched those scenarios. The gap between what they predicted and what they actually did was enormous. People certain they would act with courage stayed silent. People who believed they were generous walked past. They weren't lying when they made their predictions. They genuinely believed what they said. But intention and behavior are not the same thing, and the brain treats them as if they are. Your memory makes this worse. Every time you remember something, you are not playing back a recording. You are reconstructing it from fragments, and each reconstruction subtly edits the past to fit who you currently believe yourself to be. A study at Northwestern University found that people consistently misremembered their own past attitudes to match their current ones. Your personal history is not a fixed document. It is a story being rewritten every time you tell it, always with you as the coherent, reasonable protagonist. Here is what all of this adds up to. The self you think you know is partly a construction, not a lie, not a flaw, a construction. Your brain built it because humans with a stable sense of identity were better at making decisions and surviving. A coherent self-narrative is a survival tool, not a mirror. It was never designed to be accurate. It was designed to be useful. The most self-aware people on earth are not the ones who have finally figured out exactly who they are. They are the ones who stopped assuming their internal picture of themselves is complete. They treat their own self-knowledge the way a good scientist treats a working theory. Useful for now, always open to new evidence, never mistaken for the final answer. You have been living inside your own head your entire life, but you have never seen your own face without a mirror. Everything you know about how you appear to the world is a reflection, and reflections, as it turns out, are never quite exact. The gap between the reflection and the reality is not something to fix. It is something to get interested in. That gap is where growth actually lives. And now that you can see it, you are already ahead of where most people will ever be.